Hello everybody, welcome to Now Playing. I'm Nye, and this is Bastion. I would like to say outright at the beginning of this review that this is how you make a video game. Ignore the fact that some video games sell for 60 and others for 20. Pretend that marketing doesn't happen and stop for a moment and kick that whole sales thing to the side. All you have is the game itself. The gameplay, the graphics, the story, the sound, all on equal footing. When you get them here, to this point, there are games that shine, and Bastion is one of them. As you can see, it had an effect on me. In Bastion, you are the kid. Something has happened to your world, destroying it and reducing it to very small pieces. It seems the only thing holding it together is sheer bloody-mindedness, and it responds to your footsteps, pulling itself together just long enough for you to pass. All you know is that you have to keep going. The game is an action RPG if you have to classify it. You travel through a dungeon crawler style map that forms itself as you move, and you use two of a number of weapons that you can access. Any combination, any way.
Finds his lifelong friend,
as well as a special skill that you can use to turn the tide of battle. You can use spirits that augment your fighting ability. You can activate gods that increase the difficulty. And you can wonder at the narrator who describes just about everything you do. I refuse to tell you anything more of the story. However, I will tell you that it's the absurdly well-crafted story. While it's not the most creative or the most unique, it's how it pulls it off. The timing is fantastic.
He sees what's
the game is fantastic about not saying anything until the exact moment when it is needed. Timing is everything, it said, and Bastion heard them say it and followed it to a T. Most of that has to do with the narrator, who you've been hearing. He makes the game. That southern drawl. You have a voice describing what you're doing, what's going on, what you're facing, and exactly what's about to happen. Sometimes he elaborates, sometimes he doesn't. And it's all done just when it should be. I'll not say any more, but I would like to say the following about an eventuality. Peter Molyneux, this is how you actually do it. You folks will understand when you get there. As for the graphics, they feel wonderful. They work with the actual story and the narrator. The colors fade in and out, becoming more bland or more colorful based on where we are. Sure, there's reds when there's fiery areas and green in the bush. But when the reds fade to soft grays when something goes wrong, when the greens go brighter when we're happy when things are going right, that's fantastic art design. And things feel hand-drawn. This has something to do with the 2D on 3D effect that the game has. And the isometric design helps a lot in keeping the player from napping.
An old repeater falls out of the sky.
Things just feel alien when we're playing with X's instead of crosses. And in this game, alien is a little bit important. The controls are fairly well done, though the game could have used a little bit more spit and polish here. I do understand that the game was made for the Xbox first and the PC second. But there's a bit of a problem when you have a game based on diagonals, and a combination of up and right does not send me exactly up and right. It doesn't keep me on the path. Sure, it keeps me awake as a player. But otherwise? Nah. Well, otherwise the controls are well done, especially in regards to the various weapons and how they are used. Each one feels unique, even the ones that overlap.
I'm just fooling.
Just well done indeed. Then there's the sound. The game is amazing for it. The music is just amazingly well done.
Quite a thirst by now.
You can hear a heavy Western influence with the guitar that really fits with that narrator's voice. This combines with heavy drum beats at times, which, well, is done for action. There's an Eastern influence at various places,
A school of squirts tunnels up around them. Must have
and
fled
then
here from the
in
mines.
others, especially in one certain swamp area, you can even hear a Cajun influence. The music honestly deserves all my applause. I bought the soundtrack as soon as I learned I could. Oh, and by the way, that narrator, I'm never going to get him out of my head. I want that voice narrating my life.
Kid finds a memento from a girl. he
Well,
knew.
as
Always
for the
used
sound
fancier.
effects, they're okay. I'm not going to pretend they're something special when they really aren't. But things that you crush feel like they're crushed. Things that you shatter feel like they're shattered. And that's important, really. Well, yeah. I do want to break from my normal and actually say that this game is creative. And the creativity really makes it. It's also exemplary on how well things fit together, and the small touches. There are names for groups in the real world that you only really notice in passing.
sets foot
Cultural
inside one
feelings
of
that you just
Zelandia's famous
sort of
waterfalls.
see, but you
Wait,
never really
haven't
experience,
I?
hinting at
Anyway,
more in
Rodney's
this
place
reality.
just brings back memories.
And there's these offhand comments from the narrator that didn't need to be there, but were put in there to make
Then
the
Kid
game
finds his
more
trusty
fun
shield.
for the player. The game just doesn't feel mass-produced. Have you ever seen those recent Toshiba commercials?
Security takes him for a
You know,
petty thief.
the ones where the president of the company is being told that they
Special
had
delivery.
just
Gas fellas.
ignored something special that they could have put in the product, and he visualizes what life would be like if they don't have that. Yeah, that's what this game feels like.
Windbags start
But it
turning
feels
up
like
the
it
last column.
every turn. You can see it in little details, in sound, in comments by the narrator, in small pieces on the weapon. The
More
fact
squirts
that
start
weapon
coming out of the
upgrades
woodwork.
are described. With everything you look
big
around,
old
you can
fella
see
pops
that
out
time
for the
was
kid.
spent asking if this should be here. In some cases, hours spent deciding, should this item be here? Does this belong? Does this make this game better? Chances are.
Kid
yeah.
sees the way to the Bastion out the window.
Now, how
It's
much is
a
this game
bit of a
charging
drop.
for you for? $15. And how much does the soundtrack cost? $10. But how much are they worth? $40 and $20, respectively. I really wish that I could say the game is worth a full $60 release. And I probably could, to be honest. But it just doesn't feel like a full release. That is, $60 would ruin the game because of the expectation you have for a $60 game. $15 is really a great price, though they could easily charge more and I wouldn't complain. As for the soundtrack, they're selling it. I popped for the $15 physical version just to have this thing in my hand. I gotta say it's mostly because of the cover art, but you know what I mean. Honestly, just go buy it already, would you? Look, just go to the link at the bottom of this. Click on it, buy the game, and I'll talk to you about it later.